It is now my privilege to introduce our next guest speaker. Representing the National Veterans Memorial and Museum in Ohio, and with 35 years in the United States Army commanding soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and international forces at every level. Retired Lieutenant General Michael Ferriter is a staunch advocate for veterans and the vital role they play in America's storied history. The National Veterans Memorial and Museum opened last October in Columbus, Ohio, to honor veterans' contributions to our free and safe society. The memorial and museum will serve as a tribute to the sacrifices of service members and their families, serving as a reminder to all of the importance and value of military service. It will share the stories and experiences of the men and women who have served their country, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice while doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, here to share more on the National Veterans Memorial and Museum, please join me in welcoming retired Lieutenant General Michael Ferriter.
Well, it's a great day to be a veteran. It's a great day to be here in Orlando at the National VFW Conference. It's a great day to be with you, and frankly, I told my wife this morning, it's probably one of the bigger groups of people that I may ever have spoken to, and certainly the most distinguished and honorable group of men and women, and I'm really humbled to be here. I'm really humbled to follow Corporal Bradford, General Horner, and the King of Burger King. Just what a lineup of super people who are here to honor you. So thanks for having me. And thank you, B.J. Lawrence, for your service and your commitment. And I recall when we were all brigade commanders, a bunch of us would do the retirement ceremonies. We were at Fort Benning, General Carter Ham, Frank Helmick, myself. It's a great group, and Nolan Bivens. And we would say things like this. We would say, today on the stage we have over 200 years of experience serving our country, and they do it for duty and humanity. But they'll go back to their neighborhoods, and they'll do all the honeydews that they're told to do, and after about 6 months, they'll start organizing things in the neighborhoods. And pretty soon the kids will be in a little platoon formation, and they'll be marching and saying, yes, sir, no, sir. And then we would say, but then they'll do something much grander. They really will demonstrate inspired leadership and make a difference in the communities. And I retired 5 years ago, this month, I guess. And so I'm really being introduced and experienced so many groups that I probably took for granted and didn't honor, and the Veterans of Foreign War is one of those. I served in Mogadishu, Somalia during that Black Hawk Down time in 3rd Ranger Battalion, and then I served 3 tours in Iraq, and we all are brothers and have something in common. About 13 months ago, I was in Columbus, and I got a phone call, and they said, would you like to be, or are you interested in competing to be the president and CEO of the National Veterans Memorial and Museum? I said, it sounds intriguing. Tell me about it. And where is it? And they said, well, it's in Columbus. And I said, I'm in Columbus, Georgia. I don't see it anywhere. And they said, no, it's in Columbus, Ohio. So I learned to say the following, O-H. There we go. So I traveled there and interviewed a few times, and I found an amazing thing there. And I'd like to ask just that we roll the video, if it will come up.
Good afternoon and welcome to the grand opening ceremony of the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. It's my privilege to join so many veterans and national heroes of this historic afternoon. We stand here in front of an iconic building filled with exhibits that inspire and educate. And I'm reminded of how it all started. And like all good things, it took time. It took effort. We began in 2012, and by the end of 2015, we actually had shovels in the ground. A building structure that had never been tried before by architects and designers who thought it would be something outstanding. And in fact, as you go through it, I'm sure you will realize that it is, and you can see that from where you sit now.
It's a story about the pride and patriotism that motivates our brave men and women in uniform. It's a story about their resilience, and of course, it's a story about their sacrifice that they make on behalf of all the rest of us.
Greater love has no one than this, that one lays down one's life for one's friends. I believe that reflecting on that willingness, that love, is what made my father choke up when he tried to talk about his war experiences.
They served in rain, they served in snow, they served in cold, they served in heat, they served in humidity. They served every day in peace and sometimes in war to preserve our freedoms.
I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. That is the promise of this place in Columbus, Ohio.
Because there is no more fitting place in the United States to pay tribute to these men and women than here in this state in the middle of our country.
Or the land of the free and the home of the brave. Today let our rejoicing rise as high as the listening sky.
And so when I approach this building, what I think about, and I hope it influences your thinking, is the greatness of our country, the foundation of our country, and our basic beliefs. And I want to share with you the optimism and the joy we've had working with so many people of so many interests and so many veterans.
And we're going to hear this. I wish my dad was here. And we're going to hear this. My brother came through here a few months ago. He's doing much better.
This building will show their faces, their letters, their fears, their bravery, their anxious families waiting for them to return. You will hear their stories. You will see their photos and their videos. The Memorial Grove will be a place for reflection and memory. You will be moved to ask, where do we get such patriots? And the answer is, as it has always been, from everywhere, from city and farm, from every color and origin. They represent the rainbow that is America, the strength and goodness of America. Let's remember that basically this is a good place, a welcoming place, a warm place. We are all one team, one family, and let us bring ourselves together again. God bless you all. God bless all our veterans. And God bless America. Thank you.
How about that? So let me tell you just a little bit. It's an amazing, amazing architecture. Every week we get word that we won another competition that we didn't even know we were entered into. My brother-in-law in Las Vegas one day says, "You just won the Dirt Daddy Award." I said, "All right, that's great." There's 128 million pounds of concrete and rebar. The only pillars are the pillars of honor, connect, inspire, and educate. So we exist with a mission to honor all of us in this room, your service and sacrifice, and that of your family members, to connect America to veterans, since so few really understand us, and the veterans back to America, to inspire everyone to some selfless service bigger than one's own happening, whether it be school teacher, first responder, or military member, or life after your service, as you guys are doing. And then to educate the kids, K through 12. But we've actually found that often we're educating America about veterans. More than connecting, we're actually spend a lot of time trying to let them know how we think and what we do. What's unique, if there's a second slide, go ahead and throw that up there. What's unique about it is, so Senator Glenn used to look down on an old vets facility in Columbus, Ohio, and he felt it didn't do justice to veterans, and it certainly didn't honor them. You had things like Britney Spears concerts and cat shows and the Arnold Muscle show. So he said, let's fix it up. And they said it's going to cost $32 million to fix it up. So he said, let's knock it down and let's build another one. And so they did. Go to the next slide. They started with 250 veterans who each had compelling stories. And they were asked to tell the stories about a nation called and why they joined. Like Brian Vargas, whose father was a Marine, and you just can't be a man in a Marine's house unless you join up and be a Marine, right? And so it's family business for all of our services. But they down-selected the 25 of these veterans who each tell their story of the oath of office, basic training, first deployments, combat operations, families of the fallen, coming home, and then life afterwards. Very compelling and all that. Next slide. You're not going to see a lot of helicopters hanging from the roof or tanks out front because it's the videos of those inside, these 14 alcoves, as well as an amazing timeline that tells a story from 1775 to today. But we're much more than that. When they interviewed me and said, would you like this position? I said, it's really amazing, but it's insufficient to the needs of our veterans. And they said, well, General, we just put $92 million into this building. What did we miss? I said, no, you didn't miss anything. You did a great job. Thanks a lot. And people will come and see it. But we're much more than that. So they said, well, what would you do? I said, well, the first thing we'll do is build a virtual tours. If you're in a vet's home in Tampa or Tacoma or San Diego and you can never get to us, we'll bring the museum to our veterans there. We have a video booth downstairs where you can come and you can tell your story, but we'll create a virtual video booth. And once again, and then I said, Airstream's is going to give us a couple of trailers and we'll put a traveling tour and a video booth in that. And we'll drive around and be outside of Kroger's or Safeway or Burger King, whatever. And if you just happen to be walking by, you can go in and tell your story or go through the tour. And then I met the CEO of Airstreams, and I said, hey, for about 3 months, I've been telling everyone you're going to give me 2 trailers. And he said, how about 4? And I said, well, any commander knows a broken down water buffalo in its motor pool is a bad thing. So I'll start with 2. And if I get them on the road, then I'll come back. And then I went to the local Ford guy, and I said, hey, I got 2 trailers. I don't have any trucks, so I need 2 trucks. And so he gave us 2 F-250s. And we'll drive those around. Then we started Rally Point. Each first Saturday of the month, we bring any veteran who wants to come in for a brunch, and we ask them questions like, hey, where are you sleeping? And they sometimes say, I run a business here in town, or sometimes they say, I'm sleeping in my car. And we say, that's a no-go. So we're going to hook you up and take care of you. Or where do you work? And if they don't have employment, we're going to help them out, and we are helping them out. And then we started I learned a word that I didn't use a lot before called underserved kids. I would have said inner city kids, but there's actually a place called the Appalachian, pretty basic living out there too. So Youth Ambassadors program we're standing up where they can actually come in and be the docents or the guides. And we hope someday at the Ohio State University, some history professor says, yeah, I was just some 13-year-old kid in, some region of Ohio, and suddenly some crazy general had me in a museum walking people around. We've reached out. A lot of our veterans, the younger ones, leave service. They get into communities. They get into companies. And when it's time to be promoted, they're said, we're going to promote your buddy over here because you don't have any leadership certification. What were you doing? Your buddy was doing night school, so what were you doing? And our veteran says, I was doing night patrols, when that person was doing night school. So Ohio State, Arizona State, and Harvard are setting up programs for our veterans to come through us to get leader certification so they can better themselves. Good. Thanks. So I have a top 10. So when they hired me, they said, General, 2 things you need to do. 1, you need to hire your staff because you're the only guy we've hired. And number 2, you need to open in 100 days. So we've been this magnificent startup since day 1 with the greatest people on earth who've joined my team, and I've joined their team, and we're getting after it. We're going to do a thing in the next year called Big Sarge, because all of us coming out of service want to mentor and lead someone. So like big brother, big sister, we'll have veterans in the neighborhoods taking care of the kids, being that mentor, that role model that our veterans want to be and that many of our children need. We'll also we do a Letters Home project, so you'll come and see several iPads in our cafe, and you can say, you know, New York Vets Homes. It'll bring one up in your town, and you can write, hey, Sergeant Jones, I understand you're in the vet home there. I just want you to know if you ever need anything, just send me a note or call this number. So we reach out. And the bottom line is we're going to be a platform to draw people to. So I expect a future VFW convention to be in Columbus, Ohio, and your galas and dinners to be in the museum. Veterans are free. Active duty are free. It's important for me to tell you that we are the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. And when John Glenn had the idea, they said, let's go to Washington, D.C. and be an affiliate to the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. And then they found out there is no National Veterans. So being a good Ranger, we thought, well, we'll just occupy by force and declare it. And that's good for Rangers, but smarter people said, no, we'll push it through Congress, we'll get the president to sign it, and he did sign it. We are the National Veterans Memorial Museum. We don't get a penny from the federal government or state government. So I've seen 4 or 5 checks thrown around here while I was waiting to speak. I don't know if someone's going to sneak up and give me some money. But I don't want to check. What I want is this. I want every one of you to go back to your congregations and your VFW halls, and all I want is 10% of your team to be members. Right here is Sara Sykes. Stand up. You won't see her. She's sweet and petite. But this is your memorial and museum. It's built for you. It tells your story. And we'll get out there and ensure we're doing fine on fundraising and the like. We want your membership. We want your participation. We want you to visit, for sure. I want to say a few other things. In the period between 2014, when I retired, and last summer when I was hired, I got to work with a lot of veterans groups. Started a Veteran Business Alliance with 300 companies to include Black Rifle Coffee and Lead Slinger Whiskey, Dogleg Reaper Belts, the veteran golfers. My wife said, let me get this right, golf, whiskey, tobacco. And I said, of course, your point is what? So we helped a lot of them out. On the floor, down in there, somewhere around 700, you're going to see the veteran golfers. Josh Payton's right here. He didn't come with me, but he linked up. Stand up, Josh. So this young guy served in combat with my son, Dan, who shamelessly we put in that video that you saw with my son, Patty, shamelessly there with his son. But Josh came to me as I retired. He's medically retired, an Army Ranger, infantry captain. And he said, hey, sir, we're going to start a thing called the Veteran Golfers Association. And 6,000 members are now golfing. You need to join the Veteran Golfers Association. There's a chapter in your state. After 5 years now, not one suicide of a group of more than 6,000 veterans. Let's give Josh and his team a big round of applause. So the deal is this: when you get veterans together, they make things better. When you give them a mission, they make things really better. And when you give them comradeship, they make things better for each other. The National Veterans Memorial Museum in Columbus, Ohio is your safe rally point, assembly area. It's where wingmen and ranger buddies and shipmates, battle buddies come together. Please come and visit us. I really want to thank B.J. Lawrence and all the people who allowed me to kind of run the door at the last second and be a part of this. We are new, but we're not a hostile takeover, so we got to get the word out. And I love all of you for what you do. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless VFW. God bless America.
Stand up here, just an alibi. Comrades, I just want to let you know, while I was out in the great state of Ohio for Founders Day, I had the opportunity to be blessed with a private tour of the museum. And General, you gave one heck of a description and briefing, but I'm sorry to tell you, words just cannot honestly describe the tribute to America's veterans at the museum. So if any of you have an opportunity to visit, please do. Please think about helping the museum out and joining. It's a legacy, and we have to continue that and keep that going to honor our veterans. And General, I sure appreciate you coming out and letting us know about it. It is new, and I'll definitely be back to visit. Thank you.